Good morning, everyone. Lots going on. As usual, today is Tuesday, November 4th, 2025. Unbelievable. The year is just flying by, right? Have you started shopping for that thing we do? Christmas, right? Can you mention that? My gosh. Anyway, November 4th. Wild. Elon Musk says he wants to block out the sun. We'll talk about that at the end of the show. Why is Elon Musk stepping in for Bill Gates? What's going on? What is happening here? I don't understand, or maybe I understand far too much. The brain chip Terminator guy wants to block out the sun. I'm shocked, right? Okay, fine. Fair enough. The Yukon Territory had an election yesterday, and the Liberals were reduced to one seat, which is one too many if you ask me. And so we'll talk about that. The Yukon Party took the super majority, so that's good. Cloned meat? Yum, 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 because I guess why not? And so they seem to be green lighting that in Canada, and it's very quietly being done. And so I don't know why cloned meat would be cheaper than your regular everyday run-of-the-mill meat. The whole breeding process works the same, doesn't it? No? Didn't Dolly the sheep have to be carried to term by another sheep, and nature had some kind of something to do with it? It wasn't born from a pod, was it? As far as I understand it. Bovers killing cows in the Netherlands, which is not surprising, I don't think. And VPN bans are on the table in the United Kingdom. Bill C3 passed yesterday with NDP support. So if the NDP are passing bills with the Liberals yesterday, and I'm sorry that I got the Budget Day stuff wrong. Whoops, my bad. I just got the days mixed up. I thought yesterday was the 4th, even though I said it's the 3rd. I thought yesterday was the 4th, and they were introducing it, and then there'd be a couple of days of debate, and there'd be a vote sometime later in the week. So I just got my days mixed up. Apologies. Today they're introducing the budget. I don't know if they'll vote on it yet. But yesterday, Bill C3 passed with NDP support, and I was saying yesterday I didn't know one way or the other if with my gut was telling me that the NDP were going to support this. I couldn't tell. Maybe they wouldn't. Maybe they'd be okay with going into an election. Maybe not. And I really didn't know. And today the weight has been changed because of that Bill C3. You don't pass Bill C3 if you don't intend for that to continue after today, right? You don't do that yesterday if you don't intend that to continue past today. So they're going to pass the budget, and they're going to support the Liberals on all the other crap bills that the Liberals are trying to jam down everybody's throats. So we're not quite there yet for an election. If you ask me, I'll be surprised if we're going to an election on this budget. The NDP are going to team up with the Liberals yet again and force a crap budget down our throats, and it's going to be terrible. And today, the other part of this is the distraction is built in for today. I didn't realize November 4th in the United States is election day for Mamdini, and the mayors and big cities are all coordinated, or a bunch of them are anyway. And so people are saying this is election day, and there's already all sorts of things going on. So the Canadian budget is not nearly as exciting as new progressive mayor of New York. So the news cycle is already preloaded to ignore the Budget Day in Canada, right? And so, of course, we're going to focus on it, right? So lots to get to. Let's get to it first. Budget Day in Canada, right? Woo! Fun! Or something like that. At least we don't have to look at Chrystia Freeland and her red dress, right? So that's probably a good thing. Kentucky Girl says, translation, Democrats are afraid they're going to lose. I don't know about that. This is just distraction on distraction on distraction. Officer Lou says multiple bomb threats disrupt voting at Paterson, New Jersey polling sites on election day. So there's a big New Jersey election. The Democrats are projected to win, but they're worried about a big Republican surge, I guess. And Mamdini's almost, they're saying Trump endorsed Cuomo yesterday. I think it was Cuomo. The guy, Trump endorsed the other one still in the race and said, doesn't matter how much you dislike him, the other guy can't win. The other guy looks like he's going to win, so not so good. Domestically, it's good for Canada, or it's not good for Canada if you look through my lens, but it's good for the Canadian government running cover for their crap budget that really nobody should want to support, but you watch. Here's Mel Jolie saying this budget is the cure-all for everything that ails you. Gov.exe says, Mel Jolie says Budget 25 will fix climate change, stop racism, cure cancer, and end all wars, and solve all of life's problems. Budget 25 will be the greatest gift to humanity, according to the Liberals. They've been in power for a decade. Why did they wait so long? Here's Mel Jolie.
budget will be about protecting jobs, making sure that we protect our communities. This budget will be about building Canada and creating new jobs across the country like we've never seen before. And this budget will be about empowering Canadians, making sure that they have trust and confidence in their future and in the prosperity of this country. And that's why the Conservatives should vote for it. Speaker, we know there are trade tensions right now. We know that some tariff industries are particularly affected, and it will be my pleasure to work with my colleague to make sure that we're able to bring support to his community, particularly OSAG and OSAG workers. That being said, this budget will be doing just that, making sure that we protect jobs, making sure that we build the country, and making sure also that we empower Canadians. Looking forward to his support. Budget will be about protecting jobs.
I don't believe anything that these liberals say at all, period. Trending Politics is reporting through the CBC. CBC is reporting this. The federal budget is expected to outline a path to NATO's 5% defense spending target with new funding for submarines and other major military projects. So investments like submarines, which don't have that long a life. I mean, like, we're trying to replace the diesel subs with nuclear subs, but we keep getting cut out of nuclear deals. And then Carney goes and tours plants in South Korea, right? For a sub that'll be made in Philadelphia after we're having our ferries in BC made in China. Man, what Canadian-focused politicians we have, right? My gosh. Tokyo Rosie is calling out here Mark Carney. Mark Carney is posting basically the same video. Did I show this yesterday? I think I showed this yesterday. We're going to listen to the first minute. And she's just taking a quote, and she's just directly quoting this video. And she says, after we spent the last 10 years stealing from you and defrauding you, we are going to give Canada back to you because it's too effed up to do anything else with. Yeah, I guess so. The problem is these guys keep talking about, we've built big things in the past. The things we built in the past, we didn't have massive laws that prevented us from building projects that economically benefited us, and people who were in office who seem to be working against the country, I guess, right? And so that's why we were able to build big things, because we didn't have limitations on what we could build with and the materials and the energy and all that kind of stuff. And now it is a completely different political situation, and Mark Carney is just ignoring the realities of the situation in the building, in what it means to, quote, invest, and in the economic pivot away from the United States. This is a massive mistake on every level. At every level, everything he's doing is terrible. And yet the NDP are so weak, they don't have any other move other than to support this terrible, terrible budget and this terrible government. Here is just a little bit of Mark Carney talking about, we're going to build again. I doubt it. We have laws against it.
It's our country. It's your future. And we are going to give it back to you. For decades, Canada's economy became more closely linked to the United States. The U.S. is the world's largest economy, so on the one hand, that created tons of new business and jobs for us. But it also meant that when things change suddenly for the worse down there, it causes big problems up here, and it's hard to control what happens next. As Prime Minister, my number one focus is to put Canadians back in control by building here at home and building new partnerships abroad, so that we're not reliant on the United States. To do that, we will have to make some difficult choices, responsible choices. Federal government spending has grown massively over the last few years. That's not sustainable. We will cut wasteful government spending. We'll make massive investments in the things that grow our economy. Homes, new ports, electricity grids, the major infrastructure that will unlock the full...
The electricity grids are for AI. They want to use the electricity grids. What they're trying to do, actually, is use consumers... they're going to overcharge consumers to pay for more energy and use that to roll into AI somehow. People are talking about this kind of being a scam and piggybacking on consumers' energy bills to offset the cost of AI for all the energy it's going to need.
Full potential of Canada. We've built big before. In the 1950s, Canada set out to build the St. Lawrence Seaway. It cost us the equivalent of about $4 billion in today's money. Since then, the Seaway has shipped more than $1 trillion worth of cargo to the world. Tens of thousands of Canadians, trade workers, business owners, and their employees have gone to work every day because of that seaway. We're going to build big things again. When we do, we're going to use Canadian steel, Canadian aluminum, lumber, technology,
and Canadian workers. I doubt it. I doubt it very much. Here is gov.exe, and he's highlighting the Bank of Canada just said that we cannot replace the United States as a trading partner, and the U.S. no longer wants to negotiate with us because Carney and Ford sabotaged the relationship. Here is just a little bit of Tiff Macklem talking about this.
Countries trying to increase their trade with non-U.S., with other countries. China has very impressively actually pretty much filled, they exports the U.S. down a lot. They've increased their exports to Southeast Asia, to Europe. It's largely replaced the lost. Now for Canada, that's a lot harder. 75% of our trade is with the United States. You do see some increase in our trade with other countries, but we can't replace 75% because we are so integrated with the United States. You know, our actually average tariff rate with U.S. is comparatively low, 6%, around 6%, which is low by global standards. But as I said, 75% of our trade is with the United States. Our economies are so integrated. Many products are produced across the border multiple times before they're a final product. So yeah, it's going to be a bigger adjustment for us than for anyone else.
Yeah, bigger adjustment, like you can't replace 75% of your economy with somebody when you don't have a plan. And Carney doesn't have a plan. He just doesn't want to work with the United States anymore and keeps saying the relationship has changed. Does he know something that we don't, right? Does he know that the USMCA isn't going to be renewed? Because if the USMCA isn't renewed, that's a big problem. That's a big, big problem for a lot of people. Ryan is responding to this. Glencore plans to shut Canada's largest copper metal operation over costs, sources say. Ryan says 1,000 more Canadian jobs lost. How are those elbows feeling? It's too expensive to run this smelter in Canada due to their insane regulations. Canada is a hostile business environment. Yep. And somebody else is responding to Glencore closing as well. Market Mania says Canada's largest copper mine is shutting down. Glencore blames soaring costs, and Ottawa's policies are making it worse. That was one thing I was thinking when Mark Carney was talking about how the St. Lawrence Seaway cost $4 billion to make back then. We couldn't do that for $4 billion in inflation adjusted money, whatever. We couldn't do that for $4 billion now. We couldn't do that for equivalent cost. In fact, it would probably cost hundreds of billions of dollars, and nobody would ever get it done. People wouldn't. What would the male, female, the gender impact look like for the St. Lawrence Seaway? My gosh, did they do a gender impact study? No. Oh, shut this whole thing down. Shut this workplace down. There might be construction workers here, right? Holy smoke! That Justin Trudeau hasn't personally approved. Whew. So it's ridiculous. And they won't repeal their bad laws. And Pierre Poilievre will give them an out with voting for things like C5 instead of saying, hey, dummy, if you want to build pipelines, repeal your stupid no pipeline bill because I'm not going to give you a way out like you're asking me to, right? And then they'd see obstructionist. They'd say, oh, he's an obstructionist. No, this is just common sense. So anyway, Glencore blames soaring costs. Ottawa's policies are making it worse. Copper's up 60% in 5 years, but Canada's economy headed the other way. 60% up in 5 years, and they can't make an economic case to stay in Canada? And copper mining is kind of location, and you need that. The location, the mine is here because the copper is here. Forget it, we're done. See you later. All right, so great. Go Canada strong, Mark Carney. That's super good. Here's Raquel Dancho, and she's asking questions. And Mel Jolie says, why am I even here if you just want to ask questions at me, basically? And that's why she's saying, why am I even here? But Dancho has a point, and they don't answer the Liberals just don't answer questions they don't like, which is unfortunate for everybody else.
You should be able to tell us if there is a jobs guarantee for the 3,000 jobs in Brampton.
I think you're falling into the trap of trying to find a problem where there's none.
Well, the problem is that 3,000 people were laid off,
the government
and
was
your government committed millions and billions, in fact, of dollars.
Well, MP Dancho,
and we're trying
I don't know whether you want
this
to be a monologue or you want me to appear.
Because the question I'm asking you is very clear.
I don't need to be here.
You should be able to tell us if there is a jobs guarantee for the 3,000.
Right, so she's saying, if you're just going to sit there and talk at me, I don't need to be here, which is rude because she's missing the point. Pierre Poilievre, and part of it is, when you ask a question of these people, they launch into talking points rather than actually addressing your question, which is, again, rude. Pierre Poilievre is responding to this Globe and Mail headline, Ottawa's bureaucracy has too many managers who are busy managing their own bloat. Yep, sure do. Too many managers, says Pierre Poilievre, managing managers on the paper-pushing pyramid called the federal government. Cut bureaucracy, lower taxes, free enterprise now. So before, Mark Carney said, don't worry, we're not going to cut the public bureaucracy. We're going to get out of it through attrition, which just means people are going to retire, be offered early retirement packages. Like if they have 5 years of work left, they can be bought out. And just like you retire now, we'll give you 2 years of work and you can just leave now. And, everybody's happy with that. So they could do those kind of things. And that's what Carney said he was going to do. And then 6 months later, he's going to cut 70,000 jobs. So says the rumor when we see this budget. And again, I feel like it doesn't matter what's in the budget. It's going to pass. The NDP are going to pass it because they can't go to an election and they have no spine and they don't actually represent us anyway. And it's a uniparty. And well, we knew this budget was going to pass. So effing hell. Dan McTeague is responding to the Globe and Mail. Globe and Mail says, Glencore plans to shut Canada's largest copper metal operations over costs. And Dan says, wait, wasn't the Globe and Mail and many other legacy media cheering on the industrial carbon taxes that raised the cost of everything while diminishing the value of the loonie? How the mighty, how the woke have fallen. And yet they won't take responsibility even after disaster happens. And disaster after disaster is people losing their jobs, people losing, the whole company is leaving. I mean, what kind of tax hit does that take for make for Canada, right? Like how much in taxes for the product shipped? How much in taxes for all the workers who work there? Why do we pay so much in taxes? Like, it seems like a lot of damn taxes. So, and the government doesn't seem to care, right? They've got plenty more of you and me willing to pony up more, I guess. Aiden says, and then there was one Liberal premier left. That's New Brunswick now, right? Is that it? And the Yukon Party wins a majority in the Yukon Territory election that happened yesterday. And the Yukon Party got 14 seats, the NDP got 6 seats, and the Liberals got 1 seat. So again, one too many. And Coco says, Ford is still premier. So that's another Liberal. And she's not wrong. Aiden, a different Aiden, maybe the same Aiden, says, breaking, Yukon has overwhelmingly voted out the governing Liberals, reducing them to 1 seat and giving the Yukon Party a supermajority. There is now 1 remaining Liberal premier left in Canada. TikTok. And again, I don't see how this all adds up to Carney's playing 5D chess and trying to force an election so he can get a majority. I think that he'd be swept out. But the NDP are there to make sure that doesn't happen because the NDP would be swept out with him, potentially. So again, not sure. It seems to me, yesterday my gut was very, very unsure about everything. And now I understand why, because I was a day early, right? Now that things have had a chance to cook a little bit more, I can see more clearly. And my prediction again is this stinker of a budget is going to pass. Here is Mary, and she's responding to Andrew. Andrew is the new mayor of Edmonton, and he says, it was an honor to have my first phone call with Prime Minister Carney today, bringing Edmonton's priorities directly to Ottawa. We had a productive conversation about the opportunities and challenges in our rapidly growing city, from the urgent need for more housing to our shared goals for a safer community and strong economy, and of course, bringing the Stanley Cup home this spring. Strong collaboration between municipalities and the federal government is key to delivering services Edmontonians rely on. Really? Because I thought that the federal government was supposed to work in the federal lane, which is not in things that municipalities deal with and not in things that the province deals with. And the municipalities are an outgrowth of the province. The municipalities are governed under the province. The province deals with them. And so this is very concerning because the federal government should have almost nothing to do with cities. And yet he's saying, the federal government is one of the most important housing developers in the world in Canada right now, and we have to make sure we're on the ground floor of that. And it's the incentive's wrong. We shouldn't be incentivizing mayors to be dealing with prime ministers. That's like having privates deal with generals. The general doesn't have time for this crap, right? Like, get out of here, private. Seriously, you're wasting my time, right? And so like, if it's important, bring it up the chain of command. And that's how the military works. And I think that probably we shouldn't have, the problem is the incentive of money. right? If the mayor goes to the province and the province says, listen, we have rules and we can't break those rules, like the budgeting rules and things like that, and we don't have any more money to give you, so we can't give you any more money. So like the answer is no for whatever reason, right? And so your SO says no. And then you say, okay, I'm going to the general. And you go to the federal government, go around it. It's still the same. We're still the same taxpayer. There's still no more money. The rules are just different for the federal government. So the federal government says, we'll give you this money, Edmonton. And now the federal government owns Edmonton. Now the incentives are all structured different. So Edmonton is kowtowing to the federal government. And if the federal government says, oh, we're going to pull this program, they have influence. Way more influence than they had before. And so I don't think it's good. And I don't think that's accurate, right? Like you should have a cordial relationship, but the same as like a private has with a general, like I'm going to listen to you, buddy. But that's it. But generally the orders come from that guy, right? Like not from him. And so I don't know, man, it makes me feel not so good about this whole thing. It makes me feel like these guys don't work for us. And it's just more evidence that these guys don't work for us. Thank you, Prime Minister. He says, I look forward to working with you to build a stronger Edmonton together. And Mary says he thinks he's fancy now. Yeah, well, people and their egos are quite interesting things, right? Here is Alex, and he says, look at their faces. This land thing, I've got to cut the stream in a minute, but I want to do this first. This land thing has turned into a massive something burger, and no one knows what to do. So BC is appealing the court decision, the Cowichan court decision, and they're looking to getting a stay until the court has had a chance to look at the ruling. And that's interesting, right? That's something that's interesting. And not that I didn't expect that, but you'd think that'd be bigger news, right? And so here are people saying people who have valueless land are concerned and they don't want to pay taxes. And like, what do you say to them? And he says, oh yeah, I'd be concerned too. Here's EB.
Follow up, Richard?
Yeah, for the Premier, property tax expert Paul Sullivan says he's launching what's called a mass property tax appeal to BC assessment. Concerns around the impact the Cowichan lands decision will have on property values in Richmond. What do you say to homeowners in Richmond who are incredibly concerned about their home values due to the decision? And what do you make of this potential appeal around the way that BC assessment, which is operated by the province, values people's homes in that area?
Yeah, thanks, Richard. Obviously, this is a moment of huge anxiety for homeowners that are in the claim area, as well as business owners that have land in this area. The court decision, the court assured us that they would make a decision that didn't affect landowners in the claim area, so they didn't have to be served. They didn't have to be told about the case, that it was going ahead in court. Unfortunately, that obviously...
What? So they got instructions that it's not going to affect the landowners, so they don't have to be even told about this thing happening. Nobody needs to mention anything. Just, keep it on the down low because nobody's going to be affected anyway. So why bother worrying them and causing all sorts of pushback and stuff? So we're just going to quietly sneak this thing in the dark of night because nobody's impacted except they lied and everybody's impacted.
Obviously turned out not to be the case. So one of the pieces of information that we're seeking to gather is from property owners in the area. If they're running into impacts that are related to financing or other related issues, it's helpful for us to know. We're applying to the court for something called a stay, which is a pause and a stop on the decision until the Court of Appeal has a chance to consider that. That's important evidence for the court to be able to hear. I understand why people are anxious. I would be anxious. But I want to reassure people we are going to court. We're bringing forward any information that we have. Currently, to date, we don't have information that banks are reluctant to loan in relation to these properties. And it would be helpful for us if that is in fact the case to be able to get that information from homeowners. People still own their properties. You still are able to sell your properties. But the uncertainty, I recognize, is a serious issue, and we need to resolve that as quickly as possible, which is why we've been expediting our work at the Court of Appeal to be able to get there.
Notwithstanding clause. Done. Simple, easy, quick, right? And would restore certainty like that. You don't need to go through any kind of appeals process. You could just drop a notwithstanding clause. Absolutely crazy. bonkers. Fundamental Justice is responding to this. How did the court assure David Eby prior to the decision coming out? I thought the judiciary was supposed to be separate from the executive. Are you going to tell the BCCA what to do? So very interesting stuff goings on there. And is it going to fix it? He recognizes there's a problem.